These first few slides are going to be just basic for all new users or users who haven't been on the product for very long or haven't done much 2-axis machining. So it'll get more complex as we get through the slides. Basically, we're going to talk about what kind of geometry you can machine and 2.5-axis machining. Basically, you can machine any type of geometry in 2.5-axis. If you have a 2D drawing, such as a DXF file or something you've drawn inside of Rhino or inside of VisualCAD, you can machine that in 2.5-axis and control your cut depths and everything manually using the dialogues. You can also machine prismatic parts. Prismatic meaning basic parts who have vertical side walls, no contoured areas, basic two-dimensional parts. As you see here on this particular image, we got some slots and pockets and whatnot. So that's another set. That's probably the primary part type that you will machine in 2.5-axis, where you already have like a flat part that's got some holes and pockets, nothing real complicated. Now, if we move over to the right, you can also use 2.5-axis, or you will end up using 2.5-axis operations on more complex parts. And to do that, it's very simple. You just select your geometry like you do any other geometry. In this particular picture, you see that our control geometry is not flat. It's not 2D. You don't have to select control geometry that's on a flat plane. You can select any area, perimeter area, and the program will flatten it out for you in the background. It'll do it automatically. So you can.
Oh, one thing,
go ahead.
One thing, Don, I should mention, if you select 3D geometry like that, we will flatten it out, but also move it to the highest point of that curve. So that's where the cutting geometry will start.
Unless you tell otherwise.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So that's basically the types of geometry that you will encounter in 2.5-axis machining. Let's look at this other part again. We're going to talk about location of cut geometry. Again, location of cut geometry. Let's look at this dialog right here. Cut levels. Now, if you look at our control geometry, let's just close that for a second in this part. We're pocketing out this opening, okay? Let's say this is not a casting. Let's say you're just prototyping this out of wood, say, or just to get a look of how it looks. So you may want to pocket this area out. So we have selected this perimeter. You want to select, if you look at the top view, you'll see that the perimeter we selected looks two-dimensional. Okay, so that's the maximum perimeter of this pocket. But in reality, if you're looking at the actual part itself, you'll see that it's not a flat area. And again, we mentioned that inside the program, it will flatten this out for you when it calculates the perimeter, the extents of the pocket. It'll do that for you. So you can select three-dimensional curves, okay, along these, and these are not curves, these are just edges of these surfaces. So this is a more complex selection type that you can use, but we wanted to show you that just so that you understand the selections you make in your control geometry will be the perimeter of your cut, okay, and it will be projected flat as the perimeter, as the Z depths are cut in that pocket. So we just want to make sure you understood that.